And we're back. It's Monday. Monday here on the Rants of Izzo here on Spreely TV. All right, let's do some housekeeping before we get this show on the road here. This is Spreely.com. Rants of Izzo show is exclusively produced by Spreely Media. Now, what does that mean? It means speak freely. If you go to speak freely. If you go to Spreely.com, you can check out all the things that they have there, including all the video. Look at these videos that are on there. Pete Santilli's face is on there. Eric Butler is on here. Burn Pit is on. There's a bunch of stuff on here. If you want live shows and you're like, man, how do I watch this live? Well, if you have a smartphone, it's Freedom Hub. All one word. Freedom Hub is the app. If you're on your smart TV, the Spreely TV app. You can watch on your Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, all that stuff. And look at the shows we have on here. Pete Santilli, Shannon Joy, us, Wayne Dupree, Joe Messia, Doug Billings, Evening Rants, Alonzo, he's here, and then the Burn Pit Podcast boys. They're on here as well, too. Where the hell are your guys' faces? Why don't I see your faces on? Oh, there you are. Oh, it's kind of a moody, kind of sexy thing on there. Also, don't forget, today's show is brought to you by First Class Sinners. If you're not following them on social media, here's their Instagram page. They got 960 followers. Let's get them boosted in 960,000 followers. FirstClassSinners.com is the website. Awesome motorcycle apparel. I actually wore my shirt for the first time the other day. Gave it a little bit of a test. The shirt is a fantastic damn quality. I purposely didn't wash it. I wore it 2 days in a row, and it never lost its shape. It never wound up, getting kind of cruddy on me or whatnot. I just did wash it today, so we're going to see if it shrinks out of the laundry, but I was told it doesn't, so that's a good thing. Also, if you're a fat piece of shit like me, go over to createholistic.com. That's createholistic.com and have a conversation with Maureen. If you talk to Maureen, you say, hey, listen, I heard about you on the Rants of Izzo show. She's going to give you a 20-minute conversation to find out what's wrong with you. You got chronic illness, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, countless other autoimmune diseases. You know what? Fuck those white coats who are in the shirts and white coats and shit that feed you pills. We don't want that. We want full health, wellness, and all that good stuff. So big thanks to Maureen. Oh, I got to switch this over. Yeah, hang on. Because I did something the other day. Boom. There we go. All right. That's the housekeeping we did. Let's have a show here on the Rants of Izzo on Spreely.com.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
Happy Monday. Good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely Media. Over in the chat, A. Babbitt's good to see you. Sarah Nichols, April Schoen, Black Belt Extraordinaire, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You and I are fighting someday, April. That's how it's going. Kate, it's good to see you in there. Kelly, how are you? We have a chat. For those of you who are interested in getting involved in the conversation, you can either check out the description on any of the videos or podcasts we put up and just join the chat. It's pretty much 24/7. There's some awesome people in there giving their opinions and views and this and that. It is Monday, not the usual lineup. We have the Burn Pit boys here because it's a very short week for me, Monday and Tuesday. I got a big wedding this week and next week. I got 2 friggin' weddings back to back. So I said, hey, Burn Pit boys, can you move Wednesday to Monday? Because I just don't care anymore. I needed to, due to the fucking disrespect from the regular Monday guy, I'm just not fucking having him back on. Can't imagine what we're going to talk about today. I want to give this disclaimer. There's certain things I'm passionate about talking, And a lot of times people hear me that I'm very, very, very passionate about law enforcement and fixing it because it's a broken damn system. And we have some horrible, horrible, unconstitutional domestic terrorism police out there. And people all the time, well, you beating a dead horse, because that's how life is. We stay in our niches and we talk about it, right? But it doesn't mean I'm not passionate about other things. When I have the Burn Pit Podcast boys on, we've been talking about a lot of stuff for a long time. And just the last several, probably 3 months, we've been really talking about an issue that I think that more people need to know about. I do like their method of bringing this conversation in, because what they don't do is they don't scream at the top of their lungs how bad a culture is. If you follow the progression of how Matt and Scott have presented this information, it's been make up your own mind. And then if there is an agreement on my part, then it's like, yeah, you see what we're talking about? So there is passion for this. To date, we are talking about Israel, Jewish culture, whether it's a race or religion. But I will say this, to date, it's 100 out of 100. It's 100%. Any other time I talk about a topic, if I say the black community is out of control, which I believe they are, especially in liberal Democrat cities, I have not had 100% people go, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And they get really upset and this and that, blah, blah, blah. When it comes down to law enforcement, I haven't got 100% people say, you don't know what you're talking about. I've gotten quite a few good balance of, hey, listen, I hear what you're saying. You know, if I can answer any questions for you to make it easier for you, blah, 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 this and that. To date, since doing this, and I've always said this, if you want to make me an ally of your cause when I don't know about something, present information to me that my dumb mind can slowly start to grasp. Matt and Scott have done that. 100% of people who support Jews, who support Israel, take a confrontational, if not personal, attack angle whenever I ask questions. I'm not having Ilan back on the show. If the friendship is done, that's fine. I don't like the disrespect he gave to me personally the other day, or once again in DMs, because he doesn't like what Matt has to say or what Scott has to say. He has to go through me through a middleman and then debate me on what they say. I'm not as well educated on this topic as they are. I do not tolerate being called a Holocaust denier when I clearly said I believe it happened, just not to the depths of what everyone is saying. And until I get proof otherwise, I'm going to maintain my exploration of this. And when somebody tells me I'm bitching out because I'm not going to be in their documentary because I don't want that, I've been in enough documentaries, I'm done, then fine. You know what? You just lost me. You lost me. So it seems that Jew supporters, pro-Israel, 100% play the victim in every single angle when they are questioned on something. Gentlemen, am I correct in that? Have you had that experience at all, or am I just new in this area and it's just me?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because the victimization starts with the Holocaust. That's the ultimate victimization event. And I would like to, because I did a little bit of prep here, and I was pretty busy because I didn't know it was coming onto the show till last night. But I wanted to write some things down to make sure I was able to present this, again, with facts and documents, individuals who said certain things. So they have to preserve the Holocaust, the current Holocaust narrative, right? That needs to be preserved. Now, there's a guy, I'm going to give you two quotes from two different individuals. This man, his name is Nahum Goldman. He is the president of the World Jewish Congress. Now, he has a book titled The Jewish Paradox. This was published in 1978. Now, he states the following, and I quote, "The Germans will have paid out a total of 80 billion marks without the German reparations that started coming through during the first 10 years as a state," talking about Israel. Israel would not have half of its present infrastructure. All the trains in Israel are German, the ships are German, and the same goes for electrical installations and a great deal of Israel's industry. And that is setting aside the individual pensions paid to, quote, survivors, unquote. Israel today receives hundreds of millions of dollars in German currency each year. In some years, the sums of money received by Israel from Germany has been as much as double or triple the contribution made by collections from international jewelry. In this book, Goldman admits that even during the war, the Zionists were planning war crimes trials and reparations from Germany. He goes on to say, during the war, with the World Jewish Congress, had created an Institute of Jewish Affairs in New York. Its headquarters are now in London. The directors were two great Lithuanian Jewish jurists, Jacob and Nehemiah Robinson. Thanks to them, the Institute worked out two completely revolutionary ideas, the Nuremberg Tribunal and German reparations. The Institute's idea was that Nazi Germany ought to pay after its defeat. The German reparations would have to be paid to people who had lost their belongings through the Nazis. Further, as hoped, the Jewish state was created. The Germans would pay compensation to enable the survivors to settle there. The first time this idea was expressed was during the war in the course of a conference in Baltimore. Now, I know that was a long quote, but this is just a little bit from a Jewish man who was the president of the World Jewish Congress, and he is quoted in saying this. So again, there is motive for keeping the Holocaust narrative alive. Now, one more thing. I want is one more guy. Norman Finkelstein, who is alive today, who publicly speaks out against what's going on in Gaza, against what the Israeli government. Norman Finkelstein, again, is Jewish. Both of his parents were, quote, Holocaust survivors. His book, Dominic, his book is, he's the author of what's called, quote, The Holocaust Industry, Reflections on the Exploitation of Jewish Suffering. In an interview with Counterpunch magazine on December 3rd, 2001, he was asked the following, quote, Mr. Finkelstein, do you think the Holocaust Industry would have been published, his book, The Holocaust Industry, would have been published were you not the Jewish son of Holocaust survivors? Finkelstein's response, he started laughing and said, no, I have no doubt about that. First of all, it just got barely published as a son of a Holocaust survivors. If I weren't, there would be no chance at all. I would have been buried alive. Just the other day, I was speaking to someone who met with a high government official in Germany. My friend asked him about the questions raised in the book concerning the number of surviving slave laborers and whether the German government knew that the numbers had been grossly inflated to justify the extortion of huge amounts of money. His response was that, quote, of course we knew what we were saying was true, but a decision was made early on to go on with the blackmail because we were afraid of a huge anti-Semitic reaction being unleashed in Germany. You know, as we discussed for last week, all of these things, you know, are just thrown to the wayside. If you talk about it, you're called every name in the book. And again, not only have we provided evidence of things that happened in the Nuremberg trial last week, Dominic, not only have we made public all of the scientists who went over there, including David Cole, which you talked about on the episode with Lola on Thursday, a Jewish man, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that there were no gas chambers. Again, proving it. Not only that, but Nuremberg testimony from Dr. Charles Larson, the forensic pathologist, not one gas body was even found. And again, never before has one gas body been discovered whatsoever. And Ra Hilberg in the Ernst Zundel trial in 1989 openly admitted on the stand under oath, there is no physical evidence whatsoever that he can provide of a gassed body. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, to answer the question, Dominic, have I experienced pushback when it comes to this topic? I have, including family members. But I think it's important to understand that we've all been taught pretty much the same historical narrative going through K through 12. in the public school education system. Now, some people may have learned certain things, but I never did. The narrative that I learned was World War II, there were good guys and there were bad guys. The axis of evil, the Japanese, Italy, Germany, they were evil. And the good guys were the British, England, and really wasn't. They really didn't say
Soviet Union were good
they didn't
guys.
really say
Good guys.
They didn't paint that picture because no one ever described World War II in that frame to me that we sided with the communists, which we did. But I wasn't taught things like the Balfour Declaration. Some people may have been, and that information is out there. It just isn't given to a ninth grader.
It's not in Hollywood movies.
And the ninth or 10th grader is not going to learn about the Havara transfer agreement either. You'd have to go and seek that out yourself. So most kids in that teenage group, that teenage age, are probably not going to take the time to go to their library. I mean, I'm 42. I'm not going to go to the Dewey Decimal System at the library and start researching these things if I don't have to, unless you're ultra motivated, ultra intelligent, and you're ultra into history, and history is something that you're passionate about, then you would want to go and learn more. Other than that, it's just, hey, I want to get a good grade in this class. I'm going to read the text that they've given me, and I'm going to study and memorize what I need to memorize. We learned about D-Day. We learned about certain battles with the Blitzkrieg and all these different things, but we never got the other side of the story, which I think is important. The information, I think, is what's important. Am I allowed to ask questions? Am I allowed to see two sides of the story? I said this the other day. My parents always told me there's three sides to every story. There's their side, there's your side, and there's the truth. Can we get to the truth? Can we get to the truth of what it is? And it seems to me that there's a narrative that's painted, and if you question it, then of course you would be anti-Semitic.
In some countries, you go to prison for questioning it.
Now, personally, for years, when I got into politics, just really interested in politics, was in the 2008 election. I followed that pretty close with John McCain, and his running mate was Sarah Palin, Barack Hussein Obama, and his running mate, of course, Joe Biden. I got into that, and I followed Obama's career as a president, and I read the news, and I questioned whether or not he had an allegiance to maybe a foreign religion, because I don't think that Islam is compatible with the Constitution. I don't think Sharia law is compatible with the Constitution. And I thought that our leader had a affection for this religion. And I even made mention to my dad a couple times. I said, when Lou Alcindor changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it was because he had converted. And when Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, it's because he converted. Well, Barry Soetoro is Barack Hussein Obama's birth name, and I thought, why would you change your name if you haven't converted? So I railed, and this was post 9/11 too, I railed on Islam for probably 10 years. My father and I had discussions at my table. He'd come over and babysit, and he never once called me Islamophobic. Not once. I showed my dad an interview with Matt and a author and historian named James Perloff, and I just presented my dad with some questions and some new information that I hadn't known. And within probably 15 minutes, my dad went, Scott, are you becoming anti-Semitic? And I thought, oh, wow, this is crazy. Dad, I'm just showing you information. My own father is questioning whether or not I'm anti-Semitic. And it's not just Jewish people that will pull that card. My parents are evangelical Christians, and they don't like that I'm researching. They get uncomfortable when I show them information that they can't disprove or ignore. They don't like it. They don't like it. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to believe it to be true. And it's a weird thing to see, this real kind of slavish devotion to a foreign country that now that I once had. I adopted. I had that, the Christian Zionist belief that these are God's chosen people and that those who bless my people I will bless. I had that. And now I'm just questioning things as an American, why it seems to be that we put the interests of foreign nations in front of our own, especially recently when we have these hurricanes just decimating the southeast coast, and you see that FEMA's funds are depleted and these families maybe get 600, maybe they get 900. You see Maui, the fires that happen in Maui, you see the devastation across the board, and then you see another headline that another $240 million is going to Ukraine, and we're giving $14 billion to Israel, and we're giving $9 billion to Taiwan. it frustrates a person. I think it's justfully so, rightfully so. I think you're justified in your frustration with your own government. This is a representative government. These people that are elected are supposed to represent us and our interests, and it doesn't seem to be that way. And when you bring up Israel and the fact that they're our greatest ally, quote unquote, and you question why we continue to support this, especially what's going on in Gaza, you are met with a fiery backlash that I don't see in any other topic, like you said, Dominic, whether it's law enforcement. I mean, I brought this up last week. I said, there's things involved in the Civil War. Now, the information's out there, but you're certainly not taught this in your history class going through grade school, middle school, high school. You're not taught these things. I didn't know that the North had slaves too. Of course, the information was out there all the time. It was out there all the time, but it's not what's given to you in school. You're giving a very short part of the story and saying this is what it is.
It's not given to you in pop culture or in Hollywood or on Netflix or a History Channel.
Right.
It's not given to you anywhere.
But it's out there. If you want to go research it, you have to get it on your own because you're not going to get it in the public schools. I didn't know that Abraham Lincoln met with black leadership at the time and wanted to send slaves back to either Africa or send them to South America. That stuff's very unflattering to people that are, pro the narrative of the North to South Civil War slavery. Really, a lot of the war wasn't about slavery. There's just things, but when I bring that stuff up, nobody ever calls me a slavery denier. Nobody ever gives me a really hard time about that. They'll go, oh yeah, I didn't know that, and it's interesting, but the right side still won. That's fine. They don't do that with this World War II. They don't go, yeah, no, there's some lies there, and I didn't know that, and I didn't know about the Havar Transfer Agreement. I didn't know they made a coin commemorating the Havar Transfer Agreement with the Star of David on one side and a swastika on the other. I didn't know that. But you bring that up, and there's like this air of, why are you questioning this? And that's why I had a problem with your guest you had last Monday when you said, I'm not allowed to question these things. He said, it depends on the intention. What's your intention behind questioning this? What does that really matter? Am I not allowed to ask questions? You have to have the right intentions.
You can't.
The truth.
You can't. You cannot sit there and question them. The reason that's like I don't take things at face value anymore was when I was a cop. It was you could do no wrong, and law enforcement they're not racist. We don't screw people over. We don't do that. And I've talked about this many times. There's a woman sitting in prison. Her name is Melissa Kaluzinski. She's been in prison for 12 or 13 years. She has a verbal IQ of 70. She was bullied into a false confession by my police chief. The video is on YouTube. You can go look it up. And when I found out that this is how our own government works, right? Because we always look at global, then national, but nobody ever wants to pay attention to their own fucking backyards, right? In my county, it's when you go through the discovery process of evidence for a court case, her lawyer didn't know the right questions to ask for a file that he was looking for. So because he wasn't asked, the prosecution was not under any obligation to give it. So when he didn't go to court with it and didn't have it, her defense hinged on that. She got convicted because the jury never got to see it. And so now she's rotting in prison when somebody else, who I think maybe even the parents, killed their own kid. Point being is, if our government, our local government, is such fucking scum that they would do this to us, then that's an inherent trait of human beings. They're vile, they're evil. You group them in together, so now I've got law enforcement, which I bled blue. Law enforcement could do no wrong. Now I go, oh my God, my entire career was a lie. How many other people did we screw over? How many other people did we not show evidence this? How many other people did we fuck over? So when it comes to this, the Jewish question, you go, okay, 6 million people. Awesome. Am I allowed to question that? And if you go, well, it was really 5,999,000, you're a fucking Holocaust denier. Excuse me? To give you a point. Now, everything you brought up, Matt, in the beginning, this is a typical response. Now, all emails and voicemails and voice notes are played in the show. This is from Steve Holmes, who sent me the other day, gee, you sure push, in all caps, a big lie. 96% of Israelis are Ashkenazi Jews who are descendants from Japheth, whereas real Semites descend from Shem. Therefore, 96% of Israelis are not Semites. I suspect you're also a Zionist which Hitler was too. Zionists are the biggest anti-Semites. Saying somebody's an anti-Zionist is the same as anti-Semitic. Truly stupid, since if you go to YouTube and search Jews against Zionism, you will see there are thousands of them. So are these thousands of Jews anti-Semitic? Wake up, and I dare you to tell me how I'm wrong. I have no idea what the fuck this guy's talking about or where this comes from. But the point being is, and I don't even know which side of the argument he's on. But my point is this argument is so emotional. They're not educated or mature or patient with their response. Everything's a fucking attack.
The race thing, 95.
Well, he's saying
I'm not.
Ashkenazi Jews make up the majority of the Israelis over in Israel.
Okay.
And he's saying it's coming from Japheth, which is one of the sons of Noah. Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, Japheth. So he's saying that those aren't the real Jews. They're not really Semites.
You just said they're 95%.
But he said the majority of Israelites over there now are Ashkenazi, which is true. That's true.
Okay, that is a race. I mean, DNA.
Have we established that yet? Is it a race or a religion?
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't remember anybody saying they weren't.
Well, right. Yeah.
I mean, not me anyway. I never said that. I mean, are they talking about Dominic or maybe Scotty? Are they talking about the whole Khazar thing?
I don't know. Literally, what I read you is all I got. I didn't get the proper body of correspondence. Like, dear Mr. Izzo, my name is so and so, and then closing out either. It literally what I read was all I got. That's it.
Yeah, you mean like a professional message to
how you should get
wanting to present information, different information.
Yeah, because I don't even understand what he's trying to get.
That's the fucking point.
He said there in the message too that most Jews are not Zionists. That too is that, and he said that Hitler was a Zionist.
Well,
yeah, it says
that's what he said. That's what it says.
It's a personally, but I suspect you're a Zionist. You're a Zionist
because he sent Jew. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He's saying to me, I suspect you're also a Zionist, which Hitler was also. Zionists are the biggest anti-Semites.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
This guy, I think, is retarded.
So, I mean, the basic definition of Zionism, which now the ADL doesn't like Wikipedia, has changed the definition of Zionism. But, I mean, we've had Dr. Alan Zabrowski on, who we're going to have on today.
Yeah.
And we've had Dr. E. Michael Jones. These guys have great resumes in academia. But the basic definition of what Zionism is just
Jewish supremacy in their own homeland as a Jewish state.
But they believe that they have a divine right to that land over there. They believe that they have a right to an ethnic state, an ethno-state. Basically, they get the right that we really want here in the United States to pick and choose who comes into the country and who becomes a citizen of the country or not. And they do believe that they are God's chosen. There's a religious doctrine here that that we, to be honest, I've said this, that has kind of directed our foreign policy when it's come to Israel. You have a large majority for a large number of years, Christian, evangelical Christians in Congress on both sides that have adopted that ideology, and they've created foreign policy because of it. So the idea of Zionism is Jewish supremacy, that Jews are God's chosen, that they have a divine right to that land over there, what's going on. And, we said this too, for a guy like Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the prime minister of Israel, who's had a lot of issues. He's had a lot of problems, a lot of scandals over there, whether it's bribery, money. There was protests right before October 7th, actually, of last year. People wanted him removed.
Oh, they tried their version of impeaching him like once or twice in the last couple of years?
Right. Yep. And October 7th happened, and then that kind of got pushed to the side.
Oh, shocking.
But, he's invoked Amalek multiple times when he's talking about these people in Gaza. Again, they don't view non-Jewish people as humans.
No,
they don't. And that's not all. We get the pushback where it's like, not all. Not all.
Dominic said, don't say that.
Not all.
Don't say that.
Not all.
It's at the point where we need to start saying all, so more people will speak up and go, yeah, we have a problem in our culture and it needs to be changed. It really does. How about this?
Real quick. How about this? Is it wrong for me just to say, you know what? They can exist over there. That's fine. That's fine, but they have to.
Yeah.
They have to not adopt that ideology that we're chosen.
Oh,
They have to deny that ideology. And is it wrong for me to say, you know what? Let's fix our country first before we start giving $65 billion to Ukraine, 14 to Israel, 9 billion to. And I know there's people out there who say, well, Scott, what do you know about foreign and domestic policy? What keeps us safe and what doesn't? Well, we're $36 trillion in debt. We have a military that's being depleted. The ratings that just came out recently in the militarytimes.com about the efficiency rating of the military, everything's down. We're not meeting our recruitment numbers. People don't want to join the military.
No, they do if they want to do drag story hour and be a fag in the military, they can. But Scott, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Can the United States exist without Israel?
Oh, yes, but Israel cannot exist without the United States.
That was my second question.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this shit, too, where, and I'll never understand this because Christians are pussies. Why is it that, now, Scott, and correct me if I'm wrong on this because this is biblical, if they're the chosen ones, now we as Christians have a path where if we accept Christ as our Lord and Savior, we can become a blood-bought adopted member of that family, correct?
Correct.
So
yes.
I'm in the fucking family, Jews. So I'm about as chosen as you are. I'm getting pretty tired of a group of people that we're just, why are we bowing and kowtowing to people who literally fit the definition of racism? To say we are God's chosen is the definitive fucking platform for we are better than you. This is racism. They're the definitive racists.
Well, I'll tell you why people bow down. Again, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Because somebody fucking took a picture of a pile of shoes. That's basically what it comes down to. Now, to your point, Dominic, you talked about, this is last week, you brought up, you compared this to Westboro Baptist Church.
Right.
And I just want to give my opinion on that because I don't believe that's an accurate comparison. And the reason why is the Westboro Baptist Church here is just like one family with a couple of their friends. No one gives them any really notoriety. World leaders don't meet with that family. I don't even know their names. You don't have presidents meeting with them. You don't have all kinds of money flourishing into the Westboro Baptist Church. It's one church made up of one family. They're actually a bunch of lawyers, and they go to these events, either like military funerals, to where they'll try and just degrade, they call them baby killers. And what they try and do is they try and get pushback from the people there to piss them off, so they sue them. If they attack them, they sue them. That's what the Westboro Baptist Church is actually famous for doing. But the reason why it's not an accurate comparison, again, is because it's not mainstream Christianity. The Westboro Baptist Church is not mainstream Christianity. However, and again, I'm going to give you some more quotes here. Judaism, mainstream Judaism, is Jewish supremacy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quote, and these are not fringe rabbis, Dominic. The first quote is from a rabbi named Ovadia Yosef. He was the chief Sephardic rabbi of Israel. He passed away in 2013, okay, so not that long ago. Again, the chief Sephardic rabbi. This is literally the equivalent of the Pope of the Catholic Church. Anybody can look this up. This is the chief Sephardic rabbi. Now, over 1 million people went to his funeral in 2013. 1 million people aren't going to show up to the funeral of the Westboro Baptist Church guy. I can tell you that much. But here was, you mentioned him. Yeah, you actually showed a video, I believe, of him a couple weeks ago. But, throughout his lifetime, he called for an annihilation of Arabs, enslavement of Gentiles, spiritual superiority of Jews. But here's one of many quotes that I have. This is him saying this. I forget what year, but I can get it to you. Quote, "Goyim were born only to serve us. Without that, they have no place in the world, only to serve the people of Israel. In Israel, death has no dominion over them. With Gentiles, it will be like any person. They need not to die, but God will give them longevity. Why? Imagine that one's donkey would die. They'd lose their money. This is his servant. That's why he gets a long life, to work well for this Jew. End quote. Why are Gentiles needed? They will work, they will plow, they will reap. We will sit like an effendi, and that means slave master, and eat. That is why Gentiles were created. Again, chief Sephardic rabbi, this is the equivalent of the Pope of the Catholic Church, hardly a fringe rabbi. Now, let me give you another quote here. Again, I'm giving you this because this is fucking documented and nobody can argue it. This rabbi is called Menachem Mendel Schneerson. You may have heard of him. Last week on October 7th, or was it 2 weeks ago, they had a memorial service on October 7th for this rabbi, and I believe it was in New York, I think. Trump was there honoring this rabbi. Ben Shapiro was there honoring this rabbi. Can't remember if Biden was there as well. He may have been. But Trump and Ben Shapiro were there. Some literally referred to him as the Messiah.
Oh, shit.
They literally referred to him as the Messiah. He died in 1994. Anyway, he met with heads of state of America and other countries for decades. Let's see here. I'm going to try and get to his quote here. Okay, so this statement is of his letters published in his book, quote, Gatherings of Conversations, published in 1995. Quote, this is what needs to be said about the body. The body of a Jewish person is of totally different quality from the body of a member of any other nation of the world. The Jewish body looks as if it were in substance similar to the bodies of non-Jews, but the bodies only seem similar in material substance, outward look, and superficial quality. The difference of the inner quality, however, is so great that the body should be considered as completely different species. This is why the Talmud states that there is a halakhic difference in the attitudes of non-Jews. Their bodies are in vain. An even greater difference exists in regard to the soul. Two contrary types of souls exist. A non-Jewish soul comes from three satanic fears. Now, let me say that again. A non-Jewish soul, he says, comes from three satanic spheres, while the Jewish soul comes from pure holiness. Again, this guy was known as the Messiah, to where even Ben Shapiro and Donald Trump, and I believe Joe Biden, honored his memorial service 2 weeks ago in New York City. One more quote. This is Yitzhak Ginsburg. This is the famous Chabad Lubavitch rabbi, which he is still alive today. And Chabad Lubavitch is one of the biggest Jewish organizations in the country. I believe the headquarters are in New York City. He's actually that organization, Dominic. They light every year on the White House lawn the menorah that they put on the White House lawn around Christmas time every year. This is the organization that does this every year. This is one of his quotes, and a statement made by him on April 26th, 1996 in Jewish Week. Quote, Gentile souls are of a completely different and inferior order. They are totally evil with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. If every simple cell in the Jewish body represents divinity as a part of God, then every strand of DNA is a part of God. Therefore, something is special about Jewish DNA. He goes on to say, if a Jew needs a liver, can you take the liver from an innocent non-Jew passing by to save him? The Torah would probably permit that. Jewish life has an infinite value. There is something infinitely more holy and unique about Jewish life than non-Jewish life. End quote. Now, just to ask, because I want to be fair, Dominic and Scotty, now, he does light the menorah every year on the White House lawn. His organization, Chabad Lubavitch. Do you guys know what organization pulls the lever for electrical switch for the lighting of the nativity scene on the White House lawn every year?
Who would do that one?
Nick, can you guess the organization that does that? A Christian organization?
Oh, boy.
The nativity scene.
A Christian organization that would do that. couple are coming to mind. Maybe like a World Challenge or Joel Osteen's
Catholic Charities.
church. I don't know.
No, I lied. There is no nativity scene allowed to be put on the White House lawn. It doesn't exist. However, a
Since
Jewish
when?
menorah does.
Since when?
There is no nativity scene on the White House lawn. There may be a small one in the East Wing that they put up occasionally, but there is not one on the White House lawn, not out front for everybody to see, but there is a Jewish menorah allowed to be there every fucking year. Who controls our government? Who run Bartertown?
Well, the Satan controls the government. It's starting to see, and I've really behind the scenes been like really like I've said this for years. I want to go back to ignorance being bliss, and you just can't to a certain degree. And for everyone's, we're in a spiritual war. We're in a spirit. I don't think people really realize how deep it truly is, where it's getting increasingly more difficult to not to solidify the line of pick your side, dude. And a lot of people like me, we don't want to pick a side. It's like I like harmony between everybody. But when it comes down to this, I'm not seeing this as political so much as I'm seeing this is like eternal. And I read the Bible verse every day, and I post it up on my social media. And the other day was a verse about professing, if you speak with your mouth that Christ is King and acknowledge Him, you're saved. All this. I want to point something out. It's hard to be focused when you're confused. I've said that a million times. I think that was by who was the great NFL coach from Green Bay Packers for back 60 years ago. That was his quote.
Vince Lombardi.
Yes, that was his quote.
Vince.
And that being said, when it's hard to be focused and confused, I'm truly believing that, I keep saying this, the Jews are a religion of Satan, and I believe that they are. How I'm going to say that is, Satan runs this earth. If you follow Christ, you know that Satan was given dominion of this earth. If you follow the world, you're following him. I don't know if you knew about this, Scott, but I saw this the other day in a video. Isaiah 53, I'm sure you're able to see, you're already nodding your head. Can you summarize what Isaiah 53 is all about? First off, is it New Testament or is it Old Testament?
That's Old Testament. Now, it's I believe Isaiah was one of the major prophets. There's books that are broken down in the Old Testament. There's the major prophets and the minor prophets. The major prophets, I believe, were Nehemiah, Jeremiah, Isaiah. Daniel was actually a prophetic book. There's some old Armageddon type old prophecy in there for the end times. And Daniel, also in Ezekiel, I believe, is also a prophetic book. But Isaiah 53, it's interesting to bring that up because I had that pulled up the other day, and there is a resentment that they have for that chapter, Jewish people.
Well,
because
explain why. Because Isaiah 53, and I want you to explain this. Isaiah 53 is not something they teach in their synagogues, according to what I've read. Now, Isaiah is from the Old Testament. That's their teachings. Yep. From the New Testament, in Revelation, I want to point this out. Revelation 22, 18 through 19. Revelation 22, 18 says, this is from John. John was given the vision from Christ about what would happen. I warn anyone who hears I warn anyone who hears the words of the prophecy. You've said prophecy several times, prophecy. If anyone adds, as far as this book, if anyone adds to them, God will add them the plagues described in this book. Here's the other thing. And if anyone takes away from the words of this book, of this prophecy, God will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this book. So if they're teaching the Old Testament and they take away or remove Isaiah 53, they're already being denied. What is Isaiah 53 about?
Isaiah 53 is, if you're reading the Bible as a book, I mean, which it is. It's a collection of books and writings. If you're reading Isaiah 53, it is the foreshadowing of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, who is that?
Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
One more time, who?
Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Messiah.
Okay.
The prophesied Messiah. It says he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. By his wounds we are healed. It's a very short chapter actually, and it basically describes the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and what he bore for that's what it is, and they don't teach that. And in fact, in academics over there, we brought this up a few times. The Jewish people believed that the Messiah was going to be this king and he was going to rule, and they did not expect a carpenter to come and sacrifice himself. I mean, the whole Christ coming fulfilled so much. Even going back to the 10 plagues in Egypt, the blood over the door, he was the blood of the lamb. The prophecy of it all, even the Exodus of Egypt, when they had the tabernacle, there were 4 flags around the tabernacle. One was an eagle, one was a lion, one was a man, and one was an ox. Those animals, theologians believe, represent the 4 gospels, how Christ is presented. Christ is presented as king in the book of Matthew. So that would be the eagle, or that'd be the lion. Divine, he's described as God. The word was God, the word was with God in John. The divine is the eagle. The ox would be I believe Mark or man, but so those 4 things, Christ is foreshadowed throughout the entire Old Testament, but the Jews rejected him, rejected what God had planned for. They had their own plan in mind. They wanted this king, they wanted to rule, they wanted to take back that Holy Land, they want the promised land, the land of Canaan. They did not want to accept that this was the Messiah, that he was going to save not only them, but the entire world, and they rejected him. So with the academics and the teaching with these rabbis in Israel, they also, too, it's a weird thing, Matt and I were talking about this. You know, Dominic, they have such a disdain, actually, for Christians and Christ. Not all. Right? We got to say there's Messianic Jews out there. There are Messianic Jews.
They've converted.
That's right. They're denying, basically, Judaism, and they're saying, yes, Christ, we admit that Christ was the Messiah. We made a mistake, and the Messianic Jews are actually Christians. But they don't even use a plus sign when they teach math over there. They use what would look like a perpendicular sign.
Oh, because they don't want to acknowledge a cross looking. They don't want
it. It looks too much like a cross.
It looks too much like a cross.
And anybody can look this up. We are not making this up.
No,
anybody can look it up.
You see, the point is, this is, if you're going to control a group of people to get, and if I'm going to rule the world, and here's this benevolent all creator who offers something better than what I have dominion over, which is the world, I'm going to keep people sucked in to focusing on here. I will confuse you by removing a chapter of the fucking Bible that says that correlates to the fulfilled prophecies, which any historian can show that it was impossible for Jesus to make up. He fulfilled every single Jewish Old Testament prophecy. It's impossible to do that if it was just a normal man. So I'm going to confuse you on that. Then I'm going to make you just obsessed with money, sex, gluttony, all the worldly shit. So now it's like anytime somebody's going, we're in a spiritual war, I see it now. I fucking see it. It's like, holy shit. And right. I don't care who says what. If you get canceled, this is a religion of Satan.
There's that verse, Dominic, in the New Testament that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but of principalities and powers. It's a spiritual warfare. I do believe it. In fact, Matt said that the other day, last week we were leaving the studio here, he was like, man, there's something spiritual about what's going on here. There's like a spiritual entity that has people's minds, that has a hold over people's minds.
Yeah, the brainwashing is, I mean, true. Like you said before, Dominic, and even you said this. Any other topic, there's no doubt. There's no doubt
that people get frustrated with law enforcement. Like people are tribal by nature,
right? But like, if you say, hey, man, 80% of the president's administration, they're Chinese. Isn't that odd? Yeah, that's
that is weird. That is
Russian. 80% are Russian. Yeah, that's weird. You can even say 80% are Eskimo. People will be like, what the fuck's going on?
That's strange.
80% are Jewish. Oh, fuck.
You're an anti-Semite.
Shut up.
You're an anti-Semite. I've never seen this.
Unbelievable.
Well, real quick, I'll give Richard Nixon actually some credit here, because there's some audio tapes that were released recently of Richard Nixon talking about the issue of the Jewish lobby, which I don't think that's controversial at all. And you can say, like, they do have an influence in our government, a huge influence. The Jewish lobbying group AIPAC has a massive influence.
They're the biggest.
They're the biggest, and they're
100% of their candidates won the primaries.
Richard Nixon was having a conversation actually with the Reverend Billy Graham about this topic, and Billy Graham even said in this this leaked audio that, yeah, there's an issue here. There's a problem here with this lobbying group in the country. They have a lot of influence. And you just say something like that. Again, they're having this conversation in private. They're not having this conversation out in the open because, God forbid, you had that conversation out in the open. But it's bizarre to see the reaction that people give you. I mean, even with the Civil War stuff, I mean, the narrative is the right side won. World War II, the narrative is that the right side won. That's fine. But if I bring up issues on the Civil War that I just wasn't taught in school and didn't know, people don't have the reaction that they do with this. You know, if I bring up topics like that Havara transfer agreement, people start to like that question, like, well, why are you looking into this? Why are you questioning that? Why would you even care about this? You know, it's like, just accept the official narrative as is, or why?
It goes into, Scott, what you were saying. It's for me, it's an easy answer because the devil's so damn good. He knows the Bible. He's using that to confuse the shit out of everybody who believes and brainwash them. That's as simple as it is. I have a voicemail that I need to play for you guys because a guy actually listened to the show and I skimmed through it, but it acknowledges you. So I have to play this. Let me see.
The Jews. And I want to say that I agree with everything you say. The Bolshevik Revolution is upon us. One thing that I can't remember the guy's name, but he seems quite knowledgeable about Jewish history and biblical history and all the rest. But Karl Marx was also a Jew. He founded communism. His father was a Jew, and he changed to the Christian faith because he was being persecuted. God knows why he was persecuted. But I will say one other thing. In Germany, during the Weimar Republic, Berlin was the apple of Europe. It was a beautiful, wonderful city. And the Jews basically destroyed it, just like they're destroying our country. That city was loved by the German people, but it was taken over by Jews, which turned it into a cesspool. Sodom and Gomorrah would be embarrassed. It was unbelievable. And you cannot blame Germans for feeling a little negative towards the Jewish population in that country. Fast forward to the United States of America. Our cabinet is largely Jewish. One thing that you need to research, and you can check this out, Jews self-profess atheism. This is very...
I got to continue on this. I add on one thing before I continue with this voicemail. We had Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. You had Berlin. Hey, who created Las Vegas?
You could look back. There's a Jewish influence in the creation of Las Vegas.
Bugsy Siegel created Las Vegas. And who's Bugsy Siegel? Yeah. But I want to play the
Jewish mobster. Now, real quick, Dominic, you played last week a video that Lola shared with you of a rabbi admitting this.
Was he lying?
Publicly.
Was he lying?
No, he's telling the truth. And there's another one. I can show you a video of another multiple rabbis openly admitting everything this guy said, openly admitting the rabbi you played on the video. Okay, this isn't like some white nationalist, right-wing conspiracy theory. They openly admit it themselves. You saw the videos. This is no conspiracy that communism was created by Jews. It's a fact. They admit to it. There was no conspiracy theory that they were responsible for all the depravity and degradation in Weimar Germany during the interim period post World War I. They admitted to it. Mm-hmm. So again, what this man is saying is absolutely correct. He's just repeating what Jewish rabbis already admit to.
I'm going to play the rest of his stuff here.
Sorry for the long-winded message. I'll just make this real quick. As an ethnicity or race, Jews self-profess atheism. I believe it's 53%. You can check this out. More than any other racial or ethnic group on the planet. So Jews, by and large, are atheists. Atheism brings bad things. That's all you need to know. And finally, just check out the film. I sent you an email on this. The Greatest Story Never Told on Rumble. It goes through the history of the rise of Hitler in Nazi Germany. And anyway, good work. Keep up. Keep chugging along, and we got to wake up people, because the mainstream media, which is largely Jewish, are the ones that say you're an anti-Semite.
Now I'm going to say something.
Thanks very much, man.
Thank you for the voicemail. I'm going to say something right here, Scott. Can you, what is an atheist?
An atheist is somebody that doesn't believe in the existence of God or a higher power.
And
they just think that when you die, that's it. Lights are off.
Then I'm gonna put the fucking tinfoil hat on myself and make a very, very huge proclamation. An atheist, and he said 56% of Jews are atheists.
That is actually correct. Yes, even all the Bolsheviks were atheists.
Okay.
The Jewish Bolsheviks who overthrew the Tsar were atheists.
Well,
so was Karl Marx.
And man, I'm gonna connect the dots on this one. If Satan requires sacrifice, and he can't do the one and done like Christ can, and we've had sacrifices, and people will say like, oh, 9/11 was a blood sacrifice, and Planned Parenthood is a blood sacrifice. You know what? If our own government did have involvement with 9/11 and was willing to kill people on this shit, if I'm a religion that's following Satan and I find out that 56% of my fucking people are atheists, I might have no problem putting them in internment camps and fucking sacrificing them for Satan if they don't believe in the first fucking place.
Well, I mean, Were you talking about, what are you talking about doing? Putting them in non-existent gas chambers, or?
Yeah, whatever the case may be. Point being is,
that's the whole thing. Look, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what your stupid fucking dumbass religion says. I really don't. I don't care if your religion says you're the greatest people on the planet. I really don't give a shit. I don't care if you think you're supremacist. But whenever you control discourse, not only within American culture, Western governments, and everything, all the other facets of society that 100% directly affect my life, my family's life, my people of my country's life, yes, now something has to be done.
You're a threat. You're a threat. You're the enemy. You're a threat.
Because, I mean, let's hypothetically say this. I know you don't have too much time left, but, all these Abrahamic religions, whether it's Islam, Christianity, Judaism, well, you have Yahweh, Allah, even Christ can be considered, the man image of God. Jews worship Yahweh. Well, what if white Europeans, Dominic, were the chosen people? What if the Bible never existed? Or at least was shot down, because Christianity was forced upon the Roman Empire by Constantine in about 315 BC. And paganism, which is the Roman religion and Greek religion, stuff like that, the Norse religion, it was punishable by death in about 350 to 400 AD. I'm sorry, I said BC, AD, by Constantinus II.
Yeah,
punishable by death. Judaism wasn't punishable by death. But let's just say that didn't exist, and the chosen people worshipped Odin and Jupiter and Zeus. Do you think the world would be a different place?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
That's there you have it.
At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what someone's religion is. When their religion starts controlling my life and they start taking over all these facets of not only Western countries but the entire world, then there's a problem.
Keep your enemy from fucking fearing. It's the greatest art of war tactic. They have you afraid to challenge the enemy. And the more I see this, the more I'm like, if you're saying that your religion, if you're God's chosen by that alone, fuck you. Fuck you. It's as simple as that. So I'm tired of this shit.
Remember, Dominic, remember Christ had an interaction with the Pharisees and Sadducees. They tried to pull the race card, and he said, again, you can look us up, Christ, he said, God doesn't care about your DNA. He can raise up stones to be the seed of Abraham. The DNA means nothing. Mm-hmm. The new covenant is you accept Christ, you're now God's chosen. That's what it is. The old covenant was crucified along with Christ on that cross.
There you have it, kids. That's Monday. Don't forget to follow the Burn Pit Podcast. They're live today at 4 p.m. Eastern. You're on Spreely TV. Who's the guest you got coming in today?
Dr. Alan Alan Zabrowski, he was a professor at Johns Hopkins and the Army Warfare College. He's 82 years old. He's a brilliant mind. We're going to discuss some history today with him as well. He's been getting into some things on Twitter. We just had some questions for him, and he was kind enough to accept our invitation.
There you go. Guys, go to Spreely.com. Check out all things spoken freely there, including this topic. Have a great damn day. Go help somebody. If you can't help them, don't hurt them today. See you guys later on.
Every time we'll kiss and make up, that's a very peaceful sign. Give me a happy ending. Every time.
You got some food in mind.
Don't be unhappy.